battle for the leadership of Nigeria's incoming 11th National Assembly is already gathering momentum within the All Progressive Congress (APC). Even though the 2027 general election is still months away. At the center of the conversation is the Senate Presidency, one of the most powerful political offices in the country, after the President and the Vice President. Already, names are emerging, alliances are quietly forming, and internal lobbying had intensified within the political party. And behind the scene, there was a great tension over the controversial amendment of the Senate rule that could determine who become eligible to contest for the Senate President in the 11th National Assembly. Tonight, we'll ask some basic questions. Why is there already battle over Senate President leadership? Why did Senator Adams Oshiomhole oppose the amendment rule? Who are the major contenders positioning themselves for the office? And why have the President Bola Tinubu remained silent even while the struggle intensifies? Also tonight, we'll analyze the leadership style of the current Senate President, Senator Akpabio, and how he has been able to manage and maintain relative unity within the Red Chamber, despite difficult political movements that have been faced. Again, we'll look at Delta State All Progressive Congress screened House of Assembly lists, which have triggered one of the biggest political debates over consensus in recent time. Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Political Updates on Trumpet TV. I remain your host, Oba Siva. Stay with us. Now let's begin with Delta State, where the All Progressive Congress (APC) have triggered one of the biggest internal political debates in recent time, following the release of its House of Assembly's screening report ahead of the 2027 general election. Out of 82 aspirants screened by the party, only 46 were cleared to proceed. But what has generated the largest reaction is not the number, it is the caliber of those who were disqualified. Among them is the leader of the Delta State House of Assembly and member representing Anyosha North constituency, Honorable Emeka Uwombi. Also disqualified were 6 other sitting lawmakers, including Oboro Prayo of Bomadi, Bernard Odio of Isoko North, Bino Ebawomani of Isoko South 1, Frank Esewan of Oshimili North, Emmanuel Senebe of Patane, and Fred Martins of Warri North. Well, for many observers, this was not just an ordinary screening exercise. It was a political major statement. And according to the APC screening committee chaired by Uche Shukukwe, the affected aspirant failed to meet specific requirements under the party constitution and electoral act. The committee listed several reasons, including alleged inducements and attempted bribing of screening officials, failure to present valid permanent voters cards, questionable proof of party membership, inconsistency in official documents, and failure to comply with zoning arrangement in some of these constituencies. The committee also cited issues such as conflicting date of birth, multiple affidavits, unpaid passing dues by nominators, and failure by some aspirants to properly resign political appointments as required by the law. Yet, despite all of this explanation, controversies continue to grow, simply because long before the screening exercise began, rumor has already been circulated within the APC circle that a consensus arrangement had quietly been adopted in several constituencies. Therefore, APC leadership insists that the process was transparent and guided strictly by party's rule. The committee has encouraged any disqualified aspirant that is aggrieved to approach the appeal committee through the party internal mechanism. But politically, the biggest challenge now is unity. Can the APC manage the fallout from the disqualification without creating deeper resentment ahead of 2027? We will be glued to Delta State as the event unfolds. Now, back to the leadership of the Senate under Senator Godswill Akpabio. Since the emergence of Senator Akpabio as the president in 2023, Akpabio has presided over one of the most politically sensitive periods in Nigeria's democratic journey. The Senate he inherited was deeply divided along party interests, religious calculation, and post-election tension. Yet, despite these challenges, many political observers believe that Akpabio has successfully stabilized the institution and maintained good working unity within the chamber. Under his leadership, the Senate has continued to function without prolonged internal rebellion. Major executive requests, budget consideration, ministerial confirmation, and sensitive national debate have moved through the chamber with relative coordination and peace. Even during moments of tension involving opposition lawmakers, or economic hardship, debate, and accusation that the National Assembly was becoming too close to the executive arm, Akpabio have continued to maintain firm procedural control of the Senate. Supporters describe him as a political experienced, flexible, capable of balancing competing interests across party and religious lines. However, critics argue that the Senate under Akpabio have not been sufficiently confrontational with the executive arm on issues affecting the ordinary Nigeria. Still, one point appears widely accepted across political camps. That is, Akpabio has succeeded in keeping the state Senate largely united at a time many president instability. But even as the current Senate continues to work, attention is quietly now shifting toward the leadership battle for the incoming 11th Assembly. And that is where the controversy now begins. Recently, the Senate reportedly amended its internal rule regarding qualification of the office of the Senate President in the next Assembly. Under the amendment, previous only ranking senators who serve consecutively in both the 9th and the 10th Assembly will qualify to contest for Senate President in the 11th Assembly. Supporters of this amendment argue that parliamentary leadership requires continuity, institutional memory, and deep legislative experience. According to them, restricting eligibility to experienced ranking senator would help preserve stability within the Senate and prevent leadership uncertainty. On the other hand, critics deeply disagree, and among the strongest voice who oppose the amendment is the former Edo State governor, who is the current Senator Adams Oshiomhole. Oshiomhole mounted severe and serious pressure needed on the Senate leadership and party stakeholders to drop the amended rule. For Oshiomhole and his supporters, leadership of the Senate should not be restricted in a way that appears politically selective. It must allow for flexibility. They argue that competence, national influence, and political acceptability should matter more than consecutive legislative tenure. Within APC camp, some observers believe that disagreement is not merely about the procedure, it is about political survival and future ambitions. The Senate Presidency is too strategic for anyone to ignore in Nigeria politics. Whoever controls Senate controls legislative influence, committee structure, confirmation processes, and major political negotiations ahead of 2031. And already, several APC heavyweights are quietly positioning themselves for the office. Among some of the big names being mentioned prominently is Senator Adams Oshiomhole himself, the former Labour leader, the former governor, and now former APC national chairman, is one of the most visible and vocal political figures in the Nigerian Senate. Oshiomhole brings national recognition, grassroots political experience, and a strong media presence to bear. But his greatest challenge may be trust within a section of the APC establishment. Some influential party figures still remember the internal conflict that characterized his tenure as an APC national chairman. Others worry that his outspokenness nature could create tension between the Senate leadership and the presidency. Another name that is attracting a lot of attention is the former Delta State Governor, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa. Okowa's calm political style and being from South background make him attractive to some of this strategic seeking regional balance after Akpabio. His supporters believe that he possesses administrative experience and that national appeal for that leadership. However, Okowa faces major political impediment. Despite his growing relationship with the APC stakeholders, many within the ruling party still see him as a relatively recent political entrant into the APC structure, especially after serving for years within the PDP and also emerging as Atiku Abubakar's running mate during the 2023 general election. Questions remain over whether core APC bloc will fully trust him with such a sensitive national office. Then comes Senator Ovie Omo-Agege, former Deputy Senate President and one of the most experienced lawmakers in the current calculation. Among all the potential contenders for the office, many insiders believe that Omo-Agege possesses a strong parliamentary experience and understanding of the Senate operation. He understands legislative negotiation, committee management, and also internal Senate power dynamics better than some of the names being mentioned. But his greatest challenge may be ability of winning the 2027 general election and returning to the Nigerian Senate, as major stakeholders have already thrown their support for the current senator, Senator Ede Edafenone, representing Delta Central Senatorial District. Now, here come another very major contender, Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State. Uzodinma remains one of the most influential governors within the APC and is believed to maintain close ties within powerful forces inside the presidency. Many analysts believe he has the political structure, financial influence, and national connection to emerge as a strong contender if he eventually joins the race. But unlike others, Uzodinma faces a major constitutional and timing complication. His current tenure as the governor of Imo State will not end by May 29, 2027, when the new and next National Assembly leadership contest is expected to intensify. Under Nigerian Constitution, this arrangement as a city governor cannot simultaneously function as a senator or to contest for Senate leadership without first vacating his office as a governor. That creates a difficult political situation for Hope Uzodinma. If Uzodinma resigned early to pursue Senate ambition, it could create instability within Imo State political structure and successive arrangement. If he waits until the completion of his tenure, he may miss the opportunity to properly position himself for Senate leadership negotiation. So, while his name continued to circulate strongly within the APC, the constitutional timing issue remained one of his most serious obstacles for his emergence. Now, perhaps the most interesting aspect of this entire political debate is that the silence of the current president, President Tinubu. So far, the president have not publicly endorsed any potential successor to Akpabio, nor has he openly commented on the Senate rule controversy. And in Nigerian politics, silence often carries meaning. Some political observers believe that Tinubu is deliberately avoiding early division within the APC. Others believe that the president is quietly studying the competing camp before eventually backing a compromise candidate closer to the election period. There is also the possibility that Tinubu prefers controlled political competition within the party as a way of weakening overly ambitious bloc before final decisions are made. So, for now, nobody truly knows where the president stands, and that uncertainty is keeping all camps politically conscious. However, what is clear is that the battle for the 11th National Assembly have already begun quietly beneath the surface. The Senate Presidency is no longer just a legislative office. It is a strategic center for power that could shape the future direction of APC and national politics beyond 2027. So while the amended rule by the Senate have been reversed and stepped aside for the now, but the battle continues to rage. Now, will APC maintain internal unity as ambition rises? And when President Tinubu eventually breaks his silence, whose ambition will rise and who will collapse? Only time will tell. Thank you very much for keeping a date with us on Political Update on Trumpet TV for this week. And until next week, when we bring you yet another major political development that is shaping the nation's politics, I remain your host, Oba Silva. Good night.